just love good stories. Hello and welcome everyone to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himbar, and today I just wanted to talk about some of the movies I've recently watched. This is a video I've had an idea for several months actually, and it's just one I wasn't always feeling like recording, and I kind of feel like recording it right now, so I was just going to talk about basically some movies of note that I've watched since the beginning of this year. So I probably won't talk a lot about most of these, but I just thought it'd be fun to talk about some since, again, like I said at the beginning, I love a good story, and I know people who watch me generally like to read as well, and so they like stories as well, and I'm sure most people like movies. I'm not actually a big movie watcher. I mean, I'm sure compared to some, I watch a lot, though I would say compared to maybe not most people I know, but a lot of people I know, I watch very little actually, you know, compared to like, say, like when I was growing up, with my family, how much we consumed, I watch a lot less than that now. So, which I still watch a lot probably, but it's not like a huge part of my identity, all the stuff I watch. For example, I watch like almost no television, so I watch movies on occasion though. Anyway, so I want to start with the first one I can remember watching this year, which was Weathering with You. I have no clue who directed this or anything like that. This was actually an anime film. I think it's relatively new too. I'm not quite sure how old it is. I thought it was kind of a cute story. It focuses a lot on, oh, is it Shinto? I'm totally blanking. I think it's Shinto that is one of the Japanese religions, or native one rather. And it just kind of has that idea going on. There's basically, the concept is that there's a lot of rain, and there's this girl called, I believe, a sun girl that can make the rain stop in the sunshine, but it has some repercussions, and it kind of deals with that. It is a romance of a sort. It's a very cute one though. It's very fantastical in some aspects, and it deals a lot with, like, I don't know, I would say self-worth a little bit. I don't know, I thought it was cute. Pretty enjoyable, pretty new. I thought it looked nice as well. So I don't watch a lot of anime like I used to. If you ever watched my video chatting with Tasky, I used to watch a lot more when I was younger, but I have a problem with, like, I get into the mood and I just like do a bunch like of something all at once. I'm trying to like integrate it more into like the normal part of me, so it's not like, oh, I'm in a mood, I'll watch a bunch of anime. It's more of like, just on occasion I'll watch them or whatever, but that's just me. Anyways, and then I watched Cyrano, which actually, I watched this one in theaters whenever that was, like February or March, and I think it was February here in the United States at least. And I actually enjoyed this one. This is Peter Dinklage as Cyrano de Bergerac. I have seen an older version. I did a video actually on this movie with my brother on his channel, this Shannon with Unique Arts, or whatever he's calling his channel now, Costco or maybe, or something like that. So I like Cyrano. I had seen the older Gerard Depardieu version from, I believe, the 90s. I have read the play Cyrano de Bergerac, which is based off a historical figure anyways. The one big change, of course, is that in the play, and in most versions, Cyrano just has a huge nose, right? So he's like super skilled swordsman and a super skilled poet, but he's kind of proud because he thinks he's terribly ugly because he's got a huge nose, right? So it's kind of a love story. It's kind of tragic. It's really good, actually. I like this adaptation of it. Of course, in this version, it's Peter Dinklage, so he's actually just a dwarf, rather than someone with a huge nose. But it works pretty well. I thought the dancing was a little odd, but I actually liked the music. They turned it kind of into a musical this time around, and the music I thought was pretty good, actually. It's okay, at least. And yeah, I mean, as far as like a love story goes, it's not overly sexualized either. There's very little sexualization going on here in the movie. It's just kind of a good enjoyment, kind of funny, you know, entertaining stuff. So Cyrano, I did enjoy that one. And then after that, I watched Monsieur Lazhar, which is a French-Canadian film. I actually really enjoyed this one. My school does international cinema, so every semester, which are rather short actually compared to most schools, they will play 6 international films. It's one professor I'm somewhat acquainted with who chooses most of them actually, and he did choose this one. This one is about a teacher, I believe he's from, oh, I don't actually remember. I think it's Algeria, and he moves to Canada and becomes a teacher, and you kind of figure out like his backstory as you figure out, or you see him helping these children cope with their teacher committing suicide. It is a little, I don't know, say graphic, but gruesome. I guess people would say trigger warning these days. At the very beginning, dealing with that suicide, and it's just interesting to see how these kids handle it. They all handle it in different ways, and you just see that he's supposed to be cold and distant, and you see him being more compassionate, because, teachers are supposed to be cold and distant and, not like, hugging kids, for example, and stuff like that in this day and age. So it's a really, really good movie. Actually, I highly recommend you go and watch Monsieur Lazhar. I don't know if there's a dubbed version, but you can, if you don't mind listening to a movie in French, it's pretty stinking good. So, and then I watched Free Guy, which I think came out last year. I think it came out like summer of last year. So I thought this movie was okay. It was definitely interesting. I thought it was like fun enough, decent ideas. I thought like overall it just kind of like a happy movie, like lots of smiles going around. I mean, I like the idea of like video game type movies of the sorts. I'm not like super into them. It's still cool enough. I don't have a lot to say on this one. It's been a while since I watched it, and I thought it was okay. I probably watched this at the beginning of March or something like that. So then I watched John Carter. I think that's just what the movie's called. Maybe it's called John Carter of Mars. That sounds right, actually. It was originally supposed to be a trilogy. It's actually one of the biggest box office failures of all time. They put a bunch of money into it and it flopped. I didn't think the movie was bad. It's based off of A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs, which I read earlier this year. I'd read it actually before I watched the movie. Though the movie itself actually kind of takes things from books 1 and 2, which is Gods of Mars, and I hadn't read Gods of Mars before watching the movie. I thought it worked okay. I didn't love this movie like a lot of people seem to like, or some people seem to just think it forgettable, but I did enjoy it. I think they actually did a decent job of bringing the world to life. It's not a rated R version, because if you know the Barsoomians, there's different types, right? They didn't wear like any clothes basically in the books, but they're wearing more clothes here, which it's not a lot still, but it's not pornographic. But so I still thought it was decent. There was supposed to be a sequel, there was supposed to be a trilogy, like a big trilogy that they were planning on, do like another type of Star Wars type thing going on. Of course, this is older than Star Wars. I mean, the books are. But it flopped so hard they didn't make movies 2 or 3, which is kind of a shame. I thought the movies were good. I think I'm not big into like this stuff, so I thought it was good. I think it's mostly, in my opinion, because the source material was good. I can't say much on like the actual like performance acting. I thought it was visually appealing, actually, and I thought they did a decent job. I didn't think it was like the greatest thing ever, but I wouldn't mind watching it again at some point. Probably not anytime soon, but at some point. And then I watched The Straight Story. This is a guy, he is coming to, he's kind of going on this hero's journey, but like really just to forgive his brother and like get over his past, I think from the war. I can't remember which war it is. The movie came out in the 90s, so he's kind of old, probably like World War II or something. It's funny. It reminds me a lot of growing up. I think the movie takes place in like Iowa or something like that. It reminds me of my home in Illinois, honestly, and just the style of it reminds me of my childhood. It was kind of sweet, and it is a nice story. It's not like super entertaining, but it's interesting, like him meeting these different people. They're at different places in life and like talking to them about his own life. So pretty interesting one. I watched Casablanca. This is a classic that came out during World War II, actually. And so there's kind of the idea that to escape Europe, you had to get through, well, Casablanca, which is actually, I think, in Morocco. And then, could potentially get to Lisbon and then away. And so like you have these tickets out essentially to escape the Nazis. But there's only like one set of tickets. So who's gonna get it? What's the main guy gonna like give it? Who's he gonna give it to? Is he gonna let himself get out? Like, it's pretty interesting, actually. I think it's pretty classic. In fact, this is like the one movie the humanities department makes like almost everyone in the entire school watch. So I thought it was okay. I thought it was actually pretty good at times. I don't know. It's classic. Casablanca. And then I watched The Northman in theaters, which is out now. On DVD and stuff. I actually watched it twice. I don't think I've ever done that with a movie before. I don't think it's not like blow your socks off amazing, but it's pretty stinking darn good. I liked it a lot, this is coming from someone who doesn't really like gore. It's rated R. I don't like gore really at all. The sexual content's really low, which I really appreciated. But this movie was stinking awesome, and I mostly like it. I could nitpick and say like, oh, I like how they said this Old Norse thing, but they say this Old Norse thing wrong. Or like, it's the story of Amleth, which is Hamlet, right? So it's like, they said it, I believe, in the 9th century, maybe early 10th, late 9th. There's kind of a time jump there. And that's not when the story would have taken place, but it kind of makes sense. So it kind of fits. You know, they go to Iceland at one point, they were in the Rus at one point. Those places don't make a ton of sense in the story of Amleth. Adapting it for several centuries forward to when the story would have actually taken place, because he's a legendary figure. It works, I feel like. Though, yeah, they do okay with the Old Norse as well, I thought. I would say actually mostly they did pretty good with it, unless you want to be really nitpicky about it, which you could be, I guess. But so far, they did a pretty good job of making it historically accurate. You do see some people of the Rus. I'm not actually sure what language they're speaking. It might be some like old version of like East Slavonic or something like that. Some Slavic dialect, I don't know. But it's pretty interesting, does a good job of not holding your hand. It's not really a happy ending story, you know, you're not gonna get that in there. It's straight up a revenge story. It's very pagan in a sense. It's very not Christian, if I could just say it that way. Like, it's just doing its thing. So I think it does a pretty good job of doing its thing as well. I thought it was stinking awesome. I'll definitely watch that movie again. So it is a little gory for me. Definitely a little gory for me. But overall, the other stuff kind of makes up for it. The Northman, though, man, awesome movie, especially at the opening, like battle scene in the Rus. Ooh, so awesome. I was a sucker for that, apparently. Okay, and then now we're going into movies I've like really recently watched, which is why I'm kind of saying I don't watch a lot, because I watched The Northman whenever that was in theaters, so that was like April, maybe May, that I'm not quite sure, sometime around there. But last week I watched Ghost in the Shell, the original one from '95, based off I think the '88 manga. I loved this movie. I thought it was so cool. That's actually what, you know, kind of revitalized this idea to make a video about some of the movies I recently watched. I just thought this movie was so awesome. I love the art style. I don't know what's up with a lot of this more recent anime. I don't watch a lot, so take this as you will. But they all seem to have somewhat of a similar art style. But this is all like hand done as far as I'm aware. You know, before they're actually like, you know, it's hand drawn stuff. And it looks awesome. It's a great cyberpunk story. And it's not just that. I mean, like, it's cool. It's a little bloody. I'd say, or you could say a little bit more than that. Maybe it's a bit gory, but it's just pretty sneaking interesting. It has a lot of philosophical like thoughts going on. I thought the soundtrack was awesome too. Just the ambience of all, just like visually stunning. Just great story. It's pretty interesting. Of course, the main character is a cyborg essentially, and I'm not even sure how human she is, and that's kind of the idea. How human is she, right? How does she fit into the thing, into, you know, the humanity thing, right, going on? So I think that was pretty awesome. So I actually mentioned watching it on the server for the Red Company. And once I mentioned that, Christopher Accio actually recommended some other anime movies that I might enjoy. And so one was Angel's Egg. So this is the last one on the list here. I finished this one just a few days ago, actually. Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure. About Saturday or so. And this one's interesting. It's kind of like a Dying Earth anime. It's also deals a decent amount with Noah's Ark like type of thing going on. I believe the movie was made when Oshii kind of lost his faith. It's the same guy who made Ghost of the Shell, by the way. Lost his faith in Christianity. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of not talking in this movie. It's considered an art film. Lots of interesting stuff going on. The ship at the beginning is actually the inspiration for the Demiurge in Howling Dark, if you've read Sun Eater, and you can definitely see that. I thought it was stinking cool as heck. Like, it really takes its time, you know, you'll have like several minutes of like them just sitting there, you know, or like zooming out over several minutes. Like it takes its time, like it's really methodical about it. And it's just very ambient, it's very interesting. It's kind of about like faith and your hopes being crushed, kind of. And there's a little girl as one of the main characters, and then this guy. So it's a pretty interesting what's going on. But again, there's not a lot of dialogue. It's not super long. It's a little over an hour, maybe like hour 20 minutes or so. Maybe an hour 10. It's not really long at all. I would just recommend you go watch this. It's a pretty cool experience. Pretty interesting. I think it was actually influential on Dark Souls as well. And I think the other guy that was big in making it besides Oshu made Ghost in the Shell was some guy who made Final Fantasy VII. I'm not a Final Fantasy fan, so I don't really care. But, you know, I've seen people make that as a big note, whatever. So I'm kind of into that stuff right now, especially into cyberpunk, which Angel's Egg is not, but Ghost in the Shell is. I'm actually going to be reading a story that's directly based off Ghost in the Shell here soon. Or inspired by it, not based off it, I guess. And I'm also actually, right after I record this, I'm going to go watch Akira, I think is how people say it. So I can't say what my thoughts are on that one. I'm about to go watch it right now. So Christopher Rocchio, that was another one he recommended. And that's another one my brother recommended actually to me as well. It's one I've seen images and clips of before, but haven't actually watched it, didn't really even know anything about it. And now I'm going to go watch that. So if there's anything good you could recommend to me, I guess, maybe some of your thoughts on these movies if you have seen them, maybe any that sound interesting to you, just let me know. I probably won't make videos like this that often, but those are just some of the movies I've watched recently that I really enjoyed, and I thought I'd share those with you. Maybe you could go watch them yourself. So, anyways, Liam with Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.